Entrepreneurship could be one of the most fun things you'll ever do. At the same time, it could be something that's extremely messy, worrisome, and even scary at certain points. If you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you just have to do certain things differently. That's why we're going to talk about 5 things I had to quit to become a successful entrepreneur. Coming up. If you're new here, my name is Dedeyan. Welcome to my channel, the number one place for peak performance, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. So the first thing I had to quit to become a successful entrepreneur is free advice. Now, the second you start your entrepreneurial journey, everybody's going to come out of the woodworks to give you advice. Even you asked for it or you didn't, you're going to receive it. And this usually happens from friends, families, from colleagues, from business partners, and so on. Now, most of the times they're doing this out of love and empathy because you're going through a career path that's not necessarily traditional. It is a bit more risky, so they want to protect you. Now, granted, there's some people that actually give you advice out of jealousy, so you have to be aware of that. Now, here's the main 3 things that I look at when it comes to receiving advice. First and foremost, is the person more successful than me? Second thing, are they doing the thing that I want to do? And third is, do they have a life that I want? Because a lot of times people could be extremely more successful than me, but I don't want their life. I wouldn't change it for mine because all they're doing is working, they don't have a balance, they don't have a family life, so on and so forth. So those are the 3 things you have to be aware of. I highly suggest for you guys to pay for your advice, because the more you pay for it, the more accurate it's going to be. The more free it's going to be, the less accurate it could be. It could be non-complete, and it could just be wrong in itself. Now, you could be saying, you know what, Chris, that makes sense, but imagine I have a family member or someone that's really close to me that's a professional and I'm just getting it for free, but he is a professional, right? Let's take an example of an accountant. And you're like, hey, I ask him a question when we're having a family supper, or I give him a call, ask him a question. Now, granted, the information is going to probably be more accurate, but even that, if you're not paying for it, it's not going to be 100% proper or direct the right way or the proper structure that it usually goes down. So even in that scenario, I suggest for you guys to pay for your advice. Now, this is kind of counterintuitive, right? I'm giving you guys free advice over here. And throughout my whole YouTube channel, it's all free advice, which is good advice. But there is a huge difference between you guys listening to my YouTube video and you guys working on a one-to-one coaching session with me and really getting in the trenches with you guys with the questions that you have. There's a huge difference within that. Both answers are going to be great, but one's going to be so much more valuable when you pay for it. So all I'm saying here is be aware of receiving free advice. The second thing I had to quit is the balance between saying yes or no. As an entrepreneur, throughout your career, you're going to have to take a lot of decisions. And in the beginning, you're probably going to want to say more yes to things than no in itself. Because you're starting off, you want to get more clients, more exposure, more experience, so on and so forth. But at a certain point, there is a tipping point that you're going to have to start saying no so much more. And it happens a lot sooner than you actually perceive or believe. Now, when it comes to that aspect, you have to be aware of what is your main goal. And you set that in the beginning of your career. Now, everything else you take a decision on, you have to look at, is this moving the needle forward towards my goal in itself? Because there's great opportunities that are going to come and they're going to be extremely shiny and really attracting. But you have to look at it and say, is this helping me with my main goal? And sometimes you're going to have to say no to that. Now, one correlation that you have to look at it in this regard is that when you're saying no, you have to understand that in fact, you're saying yes to something else at a higher level. Because if you start saying yes to everything, you're not going to do it to the best of your abilities because you're just spread too thin. So when you're saying no, look at it as you're saying yes to the thing that's actually moving the needle forward for you. So that's the best way to look at that balance, and be aware, especially as your career goes on, to say more no. If you see there's some value within this video so far, don't hesitate at all to give me a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the bell notification to find out when our weekly videos come out. So the third thing that I had to quit is perfectionism. Now, there is this misconception of that you have to be perfect if you want to succeed in life or in business in itself. But that is further from the truth in itself. Because if you're just looking for that perfection, which doesn't exist, you're actually hindering yourself to put things out there. And that could be your ideology, your thought, your product in itself. So even if you would have all the time in the world to make something perfect and then put it out, the only way you're going to get high levels of value and response and see if it's actually working is putting it out in the marketplace and responding with what the community is saying, what your customers are saying, and then evolving the product or service with that process in itself. So that's the first thing you have to look at. Take away this perfection mindset. Furthermore, a lot of people resonate with people that are true. Be yourself, be authentic. That's so much more attracting and better than just trying to be perfect, because once again, perfection doesn't exist. The fourth thing that I had to quit to become a successful entrepreneur is aimless hustle. Now, this is a trap that a lot of people fall into, and it's a trap that I fall into quite often and have to be very much aware of it. Now, what do we mean by this? That means it's somebody that's always busy, or keeping himself busy thinking he's actually getting work done. But that's not what real success is. You have to look at anybody that succeeds extremely well. A lot of these high-end entrepreneurs are not always busy. Now, granted, there are certain ebbs and flows and certain times within your business that you are more busy and you have to spend a bit more time, but there's other moments that are a bit more slow. But if you're always trying to keep your agenda as busy as possible and thinking that's success, that could be dangerous, because you have to look at the 80-20 principle, which is the 20% of work that you're doing that's giving you 80% of the result. And usually that 20% is not the work that you necessarily like to do. It could be the prospecting, it could be the cold calling, it'd be outreach to clients, whatever the case is. So instead of saying you're always busy, or putting out your agenda to be busy because you think you're doing stuff right, try concentrating on doing those 20% that's gonna give you so much more result. And then by doing that, you're actually doing less that's gonna give you more result. So be aware of not falling into the hustle culture or just being always busy, but actually not doing proper work that advances the needle forward with your goals and ambitions. The fifth thing I had to quit to become a successful entrepreneur is normalcy and certainty. Now, if you decide to develop a career as an entrepreneur, you have to be aware that you're not going to have that normal life, that 9 to 5, that steady paycheck. And you might even miss certain family functions, birthdays, and parties. Now, granted, you are walking into entrepreneurship knowing this because you're attracted by the risk to reward ratio of being an entrepreneur. You could be risking a lot, but the reward could be extremely high. And it could be the opposite. You're risking a lot and the reward could be extremely low. And this aspect of that wave of like being extremely successful or really failing is not only on a year time frame or a quarter time frame or even a month time frame. It could go in a single day. During the day, you could be like, oh my God, everything's going great, I'm on the top of the world. And then that same day, you could receive a call, a payment you have to do, a client that you lost that really makes you feel like, oh my God, I'm the crumb of the world, and you're extremely down. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be aware of that normal lifestyle is not your reality anymore, and that certainty of a paycheck, that standard, is not your reality anymore. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you got some great tricks on what you need to quit to become a successful entrepreneur. Because I truly believe entrepreneurship is one of the best careers you could develop. It is extremely fun, and it's something that you're living in your passion and doing something you're really passionate about throughout your life. Now, the question today is, what are certain things you had to quit to become a successful entrepreneur? Comment it down below. Would love to see what the community is going to say on that end, and we can start a great conversation with that. Furthermore, there's some more videos over here that could interest you. Over here is my playlist on my entrepreneurship series. Over here, you have my peak performance mindset series. Over here, you have my book review series, and you have my profile picture. You guys can click, subscribe, and join the family. I hope you have a blessed and grateful day, and I'll see you on the next video.